Welcome to Mimi's Math Channel. Today I am going to demonstrate how to complete the square using the area model, which is also known as the box method. What you have to do is make sure that your leading coefficient is equal to 1. If it's not, no matter what it is, you're going to have to divide your terms by whatever the number is that's in front of your x squared. For example 1, we're going to complete the square, which means we're going to fill in this blank, and then we're going to write the binomial square. I'm going to draw my area model, which consists of 4 cells in one box. The formula for completing the square is to take b, which is your middle term, and divide it by 2. And then you want to square that answer, and that's what's going to go in the blank. What just happened is I took my first term, I placed it in my first box. I took the middle term b and I divided it by 2. And that is going to give me -2. I placed that in the second and the third box. And now I take that -2 and I square it, which is going to give me a +4. That completed this square. This same number goes in the blank. Now I'm going to write the binomial square expression. This is what I'm going to look at. I'm going to write x minus -4 divided by 2 is -2. And then the formula says to square it. This is binomial squared expression. And what's happening really is I'm just factoring it out. If I were to factor out this first row, the GCF that can come out is an x. And then on the second row, I look at the sign that's next to me, and that's what I'm going to bring out. And then I also want to see what is the GCF between those two, and it's -2. Now, if I wanted to know going across, x times what is x squared, or you could say x squared divided by x would give me this, which is x. And then x times what is -2x, or -2x divided by x, whichever way your brain thinks. And I'm going to take this sign that's closest to me, so I'm going to bring that out, and that's going to be -2. And what you should see is that I do have the factors, the quantity of x minus 2 times another quantity of x minus 2, which can be written as a binomial square expression. Binomial square. Sometimes you're given a value for b that you cannot evenly divide by 2. In that case, you would just leave it as a fraction. We're just going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to set it up in parentheses divided by 2 and square it. I'm going to go ahead and still use my first term, x squared, in the first box. And like I said, I cannot divide this, so I'm just going to go ahead and put it as it is in the second and the third box. And then what you want to do is actually square it. In order to complete the square, I'm going to take 5 and square it, and I'm going to divide it by 2 squared, which will be 25/4. So now when you're trying to write this in binomial square expression, you're literally just going to take an x, and whatever you put in your second and your third box, that's what's going to go inside of your parentheses. So over here, I put the -2. That's what's going to go here. So when I factor, I typically write it like the quantity of x minus 2 times itself, but binomial square just means to take one of those and square it. If I were to factor this out, I would end up with the quantity of x minus 5/2 on the top as well as on the bottom. Example 2 asked me to write this equation in vertex form, identify the vertex, and then solve the quadratic equation by completing the square. This time I have my variables on the left and I have my constant on the right. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and do what I was saying earlier by taking half, and I'm going to take whatever the half is and place it in the second and the third square, and my x squared always goes in the first box. Whatever the sign is inside of your parentheses, that's the sign you're going to use in the second and the third box, and you're also going to make sure you put the variable there. It's taking the place of b. Now once I split it in half, I want to complete the square by squaring this, or -4 times -4 is going to give me +16. So we already had a -15, but we just completed the square by adding 16. So what I am going to do on the left-hand side is I'm going to place a blank, and what I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other side of the equation. If you have an equal sign and you're trying to place a blank on one side and then on the other, you're going to always have that plus sign in front of it. I'm going to show you the other way as well, where you're working on the same side, because the signs will be different. What I'm going to put in this blank is what I just used to complete my square. The reason it's positive on both sides is because whatever is inside of here, you're going to square it. So if this is a negative squared, negative times a negative is always going to give me a positive. If this is a positive squared, it's still going to give me a positive. Now I'm just going to simplify. This is a perfect square trinomial. When I factor it, it's going to give me a binomial square. And then on this side, I just simplify negative 15 plus 16. So part of my directions asked me to rewrite in vertex form. If I want to put this in vertex form, I'm going to go ahead and subtract this 1 on the other side and set this equal to 0. I was also asked to identify the vertex. When it's in vertex form, you figure out what the x would be to make this equal 0, and then you would take your k as well. The vertex is going to be positive 4, negative 1. Then we were asked to also solve the quadratic equation by completing the square. So I'm going to go back to this step and complete the square, but I'm going to rewrite it down here. This is currently shown as the quantity of x minus 4 squared is equal to 1. In order to get rid of this square, we have to square root both sides. Our highest exponent tells us how many answers we're looking for, so we're looking for 2 answers. When we take the square root on the right-hand side, we want to put plus or minus. The purpose of taking the square root was to get rid of the square, so now we're just going to bring down the quantity of x minus 4, set it equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 simplified. What I have my students do is to take this, change the sign since we're going across the equal sign, and put it right after the equal sign. This shows 2 different equations. Do not stop here. You can further simplify. 4 plus 1 and 4 minus 1. If you need to write it separately so that you can see it, then do that. My final answer is x is equal to the set of 3 and 5. If I wanted to verify that this was true, I can go to Desmos and I can compare the standard form and the vertex form that I came up with. Look at the graph to see if 3 and 5 are in fact my x-intercepts, solutions, roots, zeros. Or I can take the 3, substitute it in, and see if it does equal 1. I can also take the 5 and do the same and see if it equals 1. So let's go to Desmos really quick, and we're going to put in this original problem. When you put it in Desmos, you can take it apart by putting the variables on one side, and the constant that's on the right-hand side, you have to put y equals in front of it in order to get a graph. What it's telling me is at y is equal to negative 15, so I would just take my shift button and hover over my y and go down to where it's negative 15. I can see that it's showing me where 2 of the values are going to be. It's going to show me 3 when it's negative 15, and it's also going to show me 5 when it's negative 15. Or I could rewrite this in standard form, which if I move the negative 15 over, that's just going to turn into a positive 15. Then that way I can get rid of this. And I can see on my x-axis at 3, there's a 0 for y, and then for 5, there's a 0 for y. Now I'm going to go and put in my vertex form that I said that this is equivalent to. I'm not finished typing. I just want you to see what's going to happen. And now I'm typing in, and it's a purple graph. Once I go ahead and put in the negative 1, it's going to overlap. That tells me that I have both the standard and vertex form of the same problem. On your x-axis, 3 and 5, they're currently written as x-intercepts. They also have other names: solutions, zeros, and roots. On example 3, we are asked to solve the quadratic by completing the square when the leading coefficient is greater than 1. So I'm going to show my answer as both a radical and also as a decimal that's rounded to the nearest hundreds. When you see that your leading coefficient is not 1, what you're going to do is just divide whatever this number is for both of your variable terms only. We're going to move the constant over to the side for a minute. Once we divide this, we're going to go ahead and start using our area model by putting the first term of x squared here, and then we're going to divide this 10 by 2 and square that answer to put it in our last box. Whatever goes in this last box, I'm going to create 2 blanks, and we're going to actually place that information in those 2 blanks. When we complete the square, which is this last box, we're going to always add this number first. This will create a perfect square trinomial for the first 3 terms that we see in these parentheses. This next blank has to be subtracted out because we're on the same side. Same starts with S, so that way you can remember subtraction. If I had a blank on one side and a blank on the other side of the equal sign, then they would both be positive. What I'm going to do is go ahead and fill these in. Remember, you took out a 2. So this 2 is going to eventually be distributed to the one that you subtracted out. If I wanted to put this in vertex form, now that I have distributed the 2 to the negative 25, that's going to give me the negative 50. I already had the old constant of negative 8 that was given originally. I'm going to simplify that and set it equal to 0 as it's shown right here, or you can set it equal to y, and that will be your vertex form. Our instructions asked us to solve, so solve means our answer is going to be in the form of x equals something. We're going to continue moving everything from the left-hand side over to the right-hand side so that we can find an answer that looks like a radical as well as a decimal rounded to the nearest hundredths. First thing you do is move your constant over, then you're going to divide by this 2, and at that point you can take your square root of both sides. But don't forget, your highest exponent tells you how many answers you're going to have, so you're going to have a plus or minus on the right-hand side of the equation, and then you just simplify. So when I get x on the side by itself, I want to recognize that I cannot combine the negative 5 with this radical because they are not like terms. Plus or minus, everything that follows it is one unit. Do not try to take it apart. If there were a number here, you still would not try to combine that number with this one. It has to be the constant, which is by itself, plus or minus the radical portion. Now I want to know the decimals, so I'm going to go to decimals and I'm going to type in negative 5 plus root 29 and then negative 5 minus root 29 because this is two answers. When I type my answers in, I see that I have long decimals. We were asked to round it to the nearest hundredths. The nearest hundredths means 2 places after your decimal. For the first answer, I'm going to get 0.39, and that's because the number after 8 is 5 or higher. For the second answer, I have negative 10.39, and for the same reason. These are my answers for this particular problem. If I were asked to find the vertex form and I want to verify that this is the correct vertex form, I would type my original standard form in one line of decimals, and then I would type my vertex form in the second line of decimals. If the graphs match, I know I'm doing it correctly. So let's try it. If I typed in the original one, that's the red one, and then my second one, I said that I should have negative 58, and now it overlaps. If I wanted to know the actual vertex, I can look here and see that it's going to be negative 5 and negative 58, but again, I can just click it on my graph and I can verify that. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Have an amazing day.